There is an 8-year-old girl in Seattle named Gabi Mann who has a collection that most adults would find genuinely unsettling. A broken piece of red plastic, a rusted screw, a small pearl-colored button, a piece of black foam shaped like nothing in particular, a tiny strip of blue glass polished smooth by years of rain. None of it was bought. None of it was found. Every single piece was left for her, deliberately, precisely in the same spot, by crows. Gabi feeds the crows in her neighborhood every morning, has done since she was 4 years old. And the crows, somewhere along the way, started paying her back. Now, here is the part that should stop you cold. This is not a story about one unusual crow. This is not a fluke. This is not an accident. This is a documented, studied, scientifically verified behavior that happens consistently enough that researchers have a name for it. And once you understand why crows do this, what is actually happening inside that small dark head when a crow picks up a button and flies it to your doorstep, you will never look at the birds outside your window the same way again. Let's start with what crows actually are, because most people have a rough idea. Blackbird, loud, steals things, slightly sinister energy. And that rough idea dramatically undersells what is sitting in the branches above your head right now. Crows are members of the corvid family alongside ravens, jays, and magpies. And the corvid family has something that is genuinely rare in the animal kingdom: a brain-to-body ratio comparable to great apes. Not comparable to pigeons. Not comparable to most birds. Comparable to chimpanzees. A crow's brain is not structured like a human brain. It does not have a neocortex, the region we long assumed was responsible for higher thinking. For decades, scientists used this as evidence that birds could not think in complex ways. No neocortex, no higher cognition. Simple. Except that turned out to be completely wrong. Crows developed a different brain region called the pallium that performs many of the same cognitive functions as the neocortex. Same outcome, different architecture. Evolution found the same answer twice through completely different routes. And that pallium gives crows something that very few creatures on Earth possess: the ability to think about the future, the ability to remember the past, and the ability to track individual relationships over years. Which brings us back to Gabi and her collection, and what it actually means. The gift-giving behavior in crows was not discovered by scientists in a lab. It was discovered by an 8-year-old who dropped her chicken nugget on the way to the school bus. Gabi Mann had been accidentally dropping food near crows since she was 4. By the time she was 7, she and her mother were deliberately leaving food out for the neighborhood crows every morning. Peanuts, dog food, whatever was available. They did it consistently. Same time, same place, every day. And then one morning, Gabi found something on the bird feeder tray that had not been there before. A small, shiny piece of metal. Then, another day, a button. Then, a broken earring. Her mother, Lisa, started photographing and cataloging every object. Over the following 2 years, the crows left 77 separate items. The family's favorite, a small heart-shaped piece of metal that appeared the week after Gabi had been particularly generous with her feeding. When the BBC covered this story in 2015, it went globally viral. Not because it was entertainment, because it unsettled something deep in how people think about the boundary between human relationships and animal behavior. But here is what most coverage missed entirely. The gift-giving is not the most remarkable part of this story. The most remarkable part is the social accounting that makes it possible. For a crow to bring a gift to a specific human, it must first recognize that human individually. Not humans in general, not the house. That specific face. Then it must remember that this specific face has been consistently kind to it. Then it must make a decision, not a reflex, a decision, to bring something in return. Then it must select an object, carry it, navigate to the correct location, and leave it in a place where the human will find it. Every single step in that sequence requires a cognitive capacity that for most of scientific history we assumed animals simply did not have. But what the crows in Seattle revealed is only the beginning, because researchers who heard about Gabi's story had already been studying crow intelligence for years. And what they had found in the lab was even more unsettling. What they discovered next did not just change how scientists think about crows. It forced a fundamental question about what a relationship actually is, and whether humans are the only ones capable of having one. Dr. John Marzluff at the University of Washington had been studying crow cognition for years before Gabi's story broke, and his research had already established something extraordinary. Crows recognize individual human faces, not silhouettes, not body shapes. Faces. In a now famous experiment, researchers wore specific rubber masks while trapping and banding crows on the University of Washington campus. Dangerous face masks, the kind associated with a threatening experience. After releasing the crows, researchers continued walking around campus, some days wearing the dangerous mask, some days wearing a neutral control mask. The results were unambiguous. Crows who had been trapped mobbed the dangerous mask. Crows who had never been trapped, who had only heard about the dangerous face from other crows, also mobbed it. The information traveled through the crow social network. A face got a reputation, and that reputation spread. Now flip that to the positive side, because the same memory system that tracks threats also tracks kindness. Researchers at Rikyo University in Tokyo designed an experiment specifically to test whether crows remembered generosity. They had human participants interact with wild crows in two ways. Some participants reliably provided food. Others did not. Then they tracked crow behavior toward each person over weeks and months. The crows that had been fed consistently showed measurably reduced flight distance from their specific benefactor. They allowed that person closer. They were calmer in that person's presence. They approached rather than retreated. And here is the detail that matters most. This was not generalized trust toward all humans. It was targeted, specific, personal. The crow was not thinking humans are safe. The crow was thinking this particular human is safe. That particular human is not. Individual relationship tracking. In a bird. Now let's talk about what the gift actually represents, because this is where it gets philosophically complicated in a genuinely interesting way. In human social systems, gift giving is one of the oldest and most universal mechanisms for establishing and maintaining bonds. Across every culture ever documented, gifts signal something. I value this relationship. I am investing in it. I am acknowledging what you gave me and returning something in kind. Anthropologists call this reciprocal altruism. You do something for me, I do something for you. Neither of us keeps score explicitly, but both of us maintain a running account of the relationship's balance. It is one of the foundational mechanisms of human cooperation. What Gabi Mann's crows were doing What crows do consistently and verifiably with humans who feed them fits that framework with uncomfortable precision. They received. They registered the receipt. They returned something. Not food, something else. Something that had value in their terms. Shiny, interesting, worth carrying, offered to something that had value in the human's terms. A cross-species gift economy, operating in the trees outside suburban houses, without anyone organizing it, without anyone teaching it, emerging from the same cognitive architecture that allows crows to plan for the future and remember the past. But here is the question that researchers have spent years trying to answer and have not fully cracked yet. Do the crows know the gifts matter to us? Or are they simply returning something because returning something is what you do in a relationship, without any model of what the other party actually values? The answer to that question does not simplify this story. It makes it stranger. And it reveals something about the nature of kindness that goes well beyond anything you would expect to find in a bird. Here is what we know about crow cognition that is relevant to that question. Crows demonstrate what researchers call theory of mind, the ability to model what another individual knows, wants, or values. It is not fully developed in crows the way it is in adult humans, but it is present, tested, documented. In one study, crows were given a choice between storing food where another crow could see them or where they were hidden from observation. Crows who had previously stolen food from other crows and therefore knew from experience that theft was possible were significantly more likely to re-hide their food when they knew they were being watched. They modeled the other bird's perspective. They thought, that crow knows where I hid it. I need to move it. That is not instinct. That is mental simulation of another mind. Apply that capacity to the gift-giving scenario. A crow that can model another individual's knowledge and perspective is a crow that is at least partially capable of asking, what does this human notice? What does this human value? What would communicate something to this human? We cannot prove that crows consciously think through those questions, but the behavior, selecting specific objects, leaving them in specific places, escalating the behavior with humans who respond positively, is consistent with exactly that kind of social modeling. And then there is this. In documented cases where humans respond to crow gifts, acknowledge them, hold them up, respond in some visible way, the gifting behavior increases. The crows notice the response. They update their model of the relationship. Something was communicated. Something was received. And they continue. That feedback loop, give, observe response, update behavior, give again, is the foundation of every relationship humans have ever had with each other. It is also, apparently, what a crow does when it decides you matter. Consider what this means at a larger scale. Crows live in the same neighborhoods for decades. They remember faces for life. They teach their offspring which humans are safe and which are dangerous. They maintain running social accounts on the humans they live alongside. Right now, in whatever city or town you live in, there are crows outside who have an opinion about the humans on your street. Some are marked as safe. Some are marked as threats. Some, the ones who feed them, are marked as something closer to known, familiar, valued. You are in their mental model of the world, whether you know it or not. And every time you walk past without acknowledging them, you are also in their model. Just filed differently. Gabi Mann is a teenager now. She still feeds the crows. The collection is still growing. What started as a child accidentally dropping chicken nuggets became one of the most documented examples of spontaneous cross-species relationship formation ever recorded. No training, no rewards program, no human-designed system, just consistency, generosity, and time. And the crows responded the way any socially intelligent creature responds to consistent generosity. They remembered it. They valued it. They gave something back. We have spent most of human history drawing a clean line between the relationships we have with each other and the world we share with other creatures. On one side, consciousness, intention, reciprocity, meaning. On the other side, instinct, reaction, mechanism, noise. That line has been getting harder to maintain for a while now. The crows are not the only ones making it complicated, but they might be doing it most visibly, most persistently, most personally. Because unlike most evidence for animal intelligence, which lives in journals and laboratories and controlled experiments, the crows bring theirs to your door. They leave it where you will find it. Small, shiny, and impossible to explain away. The next time you see a crow watching you from a wire, and there will be a next time, consider the possibility that it already knows who you are, that it has been watching longer than you realized, and that depending on how you have behaved in its presence, you are already filed somewhere in a memory that will outlast every phone you will ever own. What you do with that information is up to you.